think we got thoroughly rogered on these picks. Things are going so well until the very end. They were going great. Everything happened according to plan. All the fights we weren't sure about, we had put on our legs at the bottom. Our bottom 2-3 legs. And all the fights we were sure about were on the high end. And those fights all worked out. Until the last fight, which was a high probability pick for me. If that fight had come through, we would have won on 4 different legs, 4 different parlays that we had set up. But because that fight did not go through, we won on 1 small leg. It's very disappointing. I'm going to go over all the fights, and we're going to save the one I really want to bitch about for the end, which is the finale with Andrade and Chesterfield. Blanchfield. We're going to call her Chesterfield, you know. Shouldn't hate on her too much because she didn't actually win the fight. Andrade just plain and simply lost the fight. Or threw the fight. Anyways. All right. Let's go over the fights. Recap for UFC 219 fight night. Andrade versus Chesterfield. All right. Well, we'll go from the end, from the back. Clayton Carpenter versus Juan Ronderos. We had a high probability pick for Clayton Carpenter. Clayton Carpenter totally dominated him, grappled his butt off. Even when he got put in a bad spot, he fought out of it and just eventually got on top and submitted Ronderos. Funny thing is, Ronderos got submitted with exactly the same thing he got submitted in his Contender Series, or Dana White's Contender Series, with a one-armed choke. So he virtually got submitted with identical one-arm choke that he got submitted on the Dana White's Contender Series. So that was interesting. So we had questioned about his fighting, being able to fight through a one-arm choke, and it happened just like that. So we were correct in that one. We had a 50-50 fight. AJ Fletcher, Timba Gorimbo. AJ Fletcher eventually pulled it off with the submission of Gorimbo. But hey, I picked it 50-50 for a reason, because there was times where Timba Gorimbo was on top and it looked like he could actually finish Fletcher. But Fletcher was very strong. His cardio held up and he fought through it. But what is interesting is he didn't ground and pound him. He didn't outstrike him. He actually submitted him, which was, not something how I expected Fletcher to win. But Timba Gorimbo had moments, and we had, like, in my pick, when I had to pick one, I picked AJ Fletcher. But I said pick both. And sure enough, there was times where Timba Gorimbo could have actually won that fight. So they were at the bottom end of our picks, but we had picked it correctly anyway. But we had picked it both ways. Next, Nazim Sadikov versus Evan Elder. Sadikov, we had picked 50 plus, slight favorite, so he was again at the bottom part of our parlay. Evan Elder, really tough guy. Evan Elder won the first round. I think Sadikov, some people had Evan Elder ahead of him on the second round. I thought it was a split going into the third round. Evan Elder did great. Third round was going both ways. It could have gone either way, but Elder got a really nasty cut on his head, and the ref stopped it and gave Sadikov the victory, Sadikov is the guy we picked to win. It could have gone either way. It was a lower probability pick as it was. It could have gone either way, and they're both really good fighters, very well evenly matched, and definitely Evan Elder surprised a lot of guys. But Nazim did win. We had picked Nazim to win, and it was a very close fight. But it was stopped by TKO. Next fight, St. Preux versus Linz. A little bit more of a, not super high probability, but a higher probability we picked Linz. Linz just went after St. Preux. St. Preux tried to do the usual front kick, take your time, not very much volume, trying to get through this fight and get paid. Linz kept attacking, and Linz just TKO'd him. KO'd him. I really like Linz, so I picked Linz with a fair amount of confidence, not super confidence, but fair, because it was hard to tell how he's going to do it. The light heavyweight is his new division. We still don't know St. Preux. He's a veteran, but yeah, he dominated. It was fairly easy. Next fight, Jamal Emmers versus Hussein Ashkabov. And Hussein Ashkabov, 23-0. The question I had, which is why he was the pick, but he was a low probability pick. But the question is, how good is his record? 23-0 against who? Who do you beat? What level of competition? Jamal Emmers is a very good fighter. I really like Jamal Emmers, but he came back after a long layoff after getting his knee tweaked or torn by a heel hook. And I know Hussein Ashkabov does heel hooks, so I was wondering how he's going to respond to that. So we had just a slight lean to Ashkabov, but Jamal Emmers did dominate the fight. They're both talented. It wasn't a blowout, but Jamal Emmers won all the rounds. Outpointed him. Ashkabov was outstruck. He just seemed like he couldn't close the distance on him. He couldn't find a way to get close to Jamal. Jamal did have a reach advantage, had a height advantage, and he used it very well. And when he did somehow manage to grab Jamal got out of it. But Jamal was able to defensively wrestle very well, and Ashkabov couldn't outstrike him, couldn't reach him. It seems like he was always coming short with his punches. And when he did get him to the ground, somehow he didn't last very long. Jamal Emmers got up. Yeah, I mean, it was a close fight, but still, it was obvious that Jamal had won that fight. Pretty much won all the rounds. Looking forward to both of them fighting again. We had picked Ashkabov. Unfortunately, that was one of the lower level legs, because we weren't sure about how it's going to turn out. So it was a good move on our part. Next fight, Landsberg versus Bueno Silva. High probability pick for Bueno Silva, and Bueno Silva just took care of business and dominated Landsberg. And Landsberg, I mean, she is 40 years old, and Bueno Silva is a pretty tough competitor. Now I think she had gone down or up in weight class. I can't remember which, but she has moved into this new weight class, and I think it is. Did she move up? I think she moved up. And we'd all said that Bueno Silva had a lot of submissions on her record, but Bueno Silva she also hadn't had no takedowns. So she was taken down and she submitted, like, I think 6 or 7 of her fights were submission, where she was taken down and submitted. But in this fight, she went for a takedown, and she got a takedown. It wasn't a real pretty takedown, and it was against somebody who has a hard time defending takedowns. But it was nice to see that Bueno Silva put that new wrinkle into her game, because it's not just a matter of being a good striker. She's excellent on the ground. And she ended up submitting, Landsberg. But it was nice to see a new wrinkle to her game. But she was a high probability pick, and that worked out for us. Going on to the main card, Miller versus Hernandez. I had picked, it was a medium confidence, lower medium confidence for Miller. I picked Miller as the underdog to upset Hernandez. Hernandez had gone up a weight class. Hernandez is strong. He's a good striker. He's well-rounded. But we were questioning his mental game, and we were questioning his stamina. Can he go 3 rounds? Because he always seemed like he was getting tired. But he looked great in this fight. He was consistent. He looked great. And he won the fight. It was, I don't think it was close. Well, it was close, but not in points wise. I think he won all the rounds. Miller, I mean, tough guy, kept coming forward. He really fought a good fight. I mean, he just got Hernandez just a little better. Last 30 seconds, Miller was on top of Hernandez, going for the choke. He had the neck crank. He almost had the choke, and I thought, oh my God, we're going to pull this off. And Hernandez got out of it. So there was a flash just for a second. If we had nailed that, it would have been another 3-fight column, which the 51% column we had would have been all winners. And that would have jacked our parlay up huge. But Jim Miller ruined the 51%. The other two in the 51% column did reach their goal. They won, but Jim Miller didn't. It was close. So, but I was still confident going through the night. I said, okay, well, that's fine. But all the other ones looks like they're going to win. So we would have won. You know, it was still far enough down the line where we could have still made some good money with the parlays that were remaining. We had picked another underdog, which is the next fight, which is William Knight versus Marcin Prachnio. And Marcin Prachnio just dominated, picked William Knight apart. William Knight just mentally had a breakdown, wouldn't even fight back. Well, it was hard for him to fight back, and I think he just gave up. And Prachnio finally fought a very cerebral fight, kept kicking and kicking and kicking and kicking. William Knight couldn't reach him. He kept at kicking range. He's a much taller fighter, even though the reach is almost the same. But guess what? Where the reach might have been the same, he's obviously 5 inches taller, so the height is in the feet, right? So that 5 inches could have been in the feet. So he fought a great fight, picked Prachnio to win. He was the underdog. That was a good pick. Next fight. Josh Parisian versus Jamal Pogues. We picked Pogues to win. And it was, again, he was a part of that 51% where we thought, you know, he looks like he's going to win this. Kind of, you know, fairly confident. Actually, Prachnio was in the 52% range. He was actually even higher than that. Sorry, I said 51%. But he's in the 52%. So he's in a higher bracket of confidence. But Pogues was in the 51% range. And sure enough, he won by decision. And it's his wrestling that pulled it off, right? And, I mean, you saw them very close to the same level, Parisian and Pogues. But Pogues' wrestling, I figured, would come through enough where he's going to be able to outpoint him. And sure enough, that's what happened. Next fight, Wright versus Pauga. High probability pick. We picked Pauga over Wright. Wright, we had a lot of questions about his chin. It only goes through one round, tends to burn out after one round. Lets it all hang out. Either he's going to knock somebody out or he's going to get knocked out. But Wright looked good. I think he looked better at light heavyweight than he did at middleweight. He went all 3 rounds. He lost all of the rounds, but he's got moment. He's able to take a shot. He fought right through it. He kept his stamina up. He didn't burn out. Pauga looked. Was a little faster. He outpointed him. Pauga didn't look fantastic, but Pauga looked okay. But he was good enough to beat Wright, which is not seeing much at this level, because a lot of people were knocking Wright out. But who knows? Maybe Wright found his groove at light heavyweight. So, final fight. Jessica Andrade versus Erin Blanchfield. Okay, Erin Blanchfield. I saw Erin Blanchfield fight against J.J. Aldrich. J.J. Aldrich beat the hell out of her on the feet. She lost fairly decisively on the feet. She got J.J. Aldrich in a choke, and J.J. Aldrich lost. This Blanchfield fighting with Andrade had improved stand-up. So she went from for not good stand-up to decent stand-up. Not good stand-up, not great stand-up, but she was decent in this fight. She looked like she was really working on it. Jessica Andrade looked absolutely terrible. I don't even know. It didn't even look like the same fighter. I saw her fight 2 weeks ago where she looked so technical in her striking against, I can't remember the wrestler. Anyways, they fought 5 rounds. She looked really technical. She looked better than she's ever looked. This fight, she just plodded forward, head forward, chin in the air, waiting to get hit, and just throwing the biggest looping punches like real amateur hour. And she ended up hitting Blanchfield a few times, and Blanchfield hit her quite a few times. And she took it, of course, because she's more powerful than Blanchfield. She's going to be able to take her shots. Even in her corner, what did her coach say? You don't have to get hit by her. You just have to move your head. Like, I don't even know why I hit the reminder. This is exactly what she did in the last fight 2 weeks ago. She just has to move her head and hit her. And the coach said, you don't have to be hit by her. You just have to move your head. So why is she not moving her head? Okay. In the whole first round, Blanchfield tried to take her down 3 times. And she got stuffed. And she was deep into the takedowns, couldn't take her down. This is what I was expecting. I didn't think she could take Andrade down. And she couldn't take Andrade down. But going into the second round, they had a weird mix-up in the middle. And they are both kind of falling over and stumbling. And somehow Blanchfield ended up on top with kind of a weird trip off balance for both fighters. But I wasn't even worried. But even the announcers were saying, Andrade has got to stop her from taking side control. Oh, and they're like, oh, she's in side control. And Andrade didn't do anything to try stop her. So Andrade didn't do anything on the ground. She didn't try to stop her from taking side control. She didn't try to do anything. She literally just lied there. And all of a sudden she got up. And as a matter of fact, it was real easy for her to get up. She got up real easy. Like it was like boom, boom, Andrade was up. But guess what? She was up and she had both hands on the ground. And as she got up, Blanchfield threw a choke, a one-arm choke, which she ended up locking up after. But holy amateur hour. All she had to do was defend the choke while she was getting up. And it was easy. She was getting up easy. She wasn't struggling to get up. But it looked like I don't know if she gave up. I don't know if she gave up or she didn't care. She didn't respect Blanchfield. It was not a good win as far as I see it to Blanchfield. I didn't see anything fantastic about this where she's going to be fighting for a title. I just saw Andrade fighting like absolute crap. And defensively. And while she's fighting like absolute crap, Blanchfield still couldn't take her down. She landed more punches. She ended up choking her up, but she couldn't take her down. So that means Andrade at her worst, whatever performance she wants to call this. It was very disappointing. I didn't even watch the fight right away. I actually went for an errand, came back. That's how little I was worried about this fight because I thought, you know what, she's going to do this. Fight's over. I go, what happened? I immediately thought that Andrade knocked her out. So I watched the fight. I couldn't believe it, and I watched it again, and I'm there like, man, what's Andrade doing? It was very disappointing. Andrade is the better fighter. Aaron Blanchfield is not at that level. I don't know what to say. Okay, here's my prediction. In the next 2 fights, Andrade will fight for the title. I don't know which title. She will fight for the title. You watch. Next fight or the fight after, she will fight for the title. And what that's going to tell me is this. They paid her a lot of money to take this fight. And along with a lot of money, they guaranteed her title shot, win, lose, or draw in this fight. And this is why she came in. Either that or she came in so sloppy, not even caring. Big payday, guaranteed title fight. You know what? She just came in swinging. Or she didn't respect Blanchfield to that level, which is fine because she, as far as I see it, was the better fighter anyway. But she should not have not shown no respect for her. Obviously, Blanchfield is still talented. She's not a nobody. She's still, getting up in the top 10. So if you see her fight for the title in the next 2 fights, they promised her it. And that's why she took the fight, and that's why she didn't care. Because that's totally what it is. Because let's go over the chart. And this is how it looks. Start from the back. 50-50. We had Fletcher picked, but we had set up the parlay where we picked one with Fletcher, one with Garimbo. The odds were hugely in favor of Fletcher. Would have been a huge payout. Fletcher did win. Garimbo did out of his moments. We had the 50-50. 50% plus. We put the 2 Russian guys here simply because, we'd never seen them fight in the UFC. So we're like, okay, well, they look good. the records, you know, look good. And Sedikov won his fight with a TKO. Ashkabov lost his decision. So, but we were at the lower level. And the 51%, well, we hit the Pogues, who out-wrestled Parisian, and Linz, who dominated St. Preux. And that was no problem. And Miller, of course, he was the underdog, and we had picked him. And that kind of ruined this 51%, which was a level I was confident that he was going to win. But, you know, it's Hernandez that came up with a great fight because Miller fought his usual fight. So Hernandez fought the fight he should be able to fight. If this is the Hernandez that we should be seeing in the next fight, then we should pick Hernandez because honestly, he does have the ability to fight this well. Next one, 52%. Prachniau over William Knight. He was the underdog. We picked him with a high level of confidence. No problem. 53%. Carpenter, Pauga. High level of confidence. No problem. 55%. The highest level. Bueno Silva. Easy. Andrade. Looked like she was dominating. Who knows what happened. Obviously, to me, she's still the better fighter. I don't think Blanchfield... I mean, the next time Blanchfield fights somebody, depending on who it is, I'm going to fade her because she didn't look that good. If she can't take Andrade down, who's she going to take down? You know, like, I can't see her taking down the other girls either. Mind you, Andrade does have really good takedown defense, but still, my whole point being is I didn't see anything special. I saw a really good fighter, and I saw Andrade absolutely do terrible. Like I said, if she's fighting for the title in the next two fights, you know. She just took the fight, did the UFC a favor, got a huge payday, got a guaranteed title shot. And after that, she just went in there swinging. Whatever happened, happened. As far as the bet online, the win inside the distance, everything worked out. We won the Sadikov. He won inside the distance. This is a push because it was a decision. Andrade, finally this week we had lost. So we ended up breaking even because we had lost the bet here, but we had won 3, so actually ended up breaking even on this. And normally we win all of them because we usually pick fighters that don't get stopped. And we pick the most likely our fighters to stop and to stop the other fighter, of course. Pauga went to a decision. Even though he won, it was not inside the distance, which is why we had picked him. We thought, okay, well, he might stop him because he's fighting Jordan Wright. Usually ends really quick. Carpenter, he stopped him inside the distance. We won that one. Bueno Silva stopped her inside the distance. We won that one. So we won 3 inside the distance. This was a TKO. And these were pushes, which are fine. That means there were no bet. Because they went to a decision, and this one was the only disappointing one. I expected at worst Andrade would knock her out. At best, she would knock her out. At worst, she'd go to a decision and lose the fight. But in this case, it wasn't the case. So, anyways, that's the bet online that we have for the win inside the distance. We have a link in the description if you want to try it out. There we go. So let's do the math on the next one. The next fight is going to be on what's the next fight? 24th? 25th. Is it going to be the 25th? Yeah, it's going to be the 25th. I'm working on it right now. So hopefully I'll get this video out on Tuesday or Wednesday for the fight predictions for the next one, which is going to be Krylov versus Span. Yeah, Superman Span. So till next time, guys. Cheers. We'll talk to you guys in about 2-3 days. You'll get subscribe and you get the notification when the video comes out. Don't forget to like the video. Thank you very much for joining me for Zlatan's Fight Picks.